I would say the biggest thing to do to be successful is definitely stay on top of the homework and do all the assignments. And I think besides doing all the Quia and like exercises with the vocab and stuff like that, I think even more important would be to read what we're going to do the next class. I think that just doing that, it helps you remember more Spanish, it helps you comprehend it when you're learning it, and it helps with being able to speak it too. And just doing the reading before class is, I would say, the most important thing to be successful.
Definitely do all of the homework. Make sure that you read all of the material before coming to class. That's always so helpful. But most importantly, participate in class. If you're going to learn a foreign language, you need to practice speaking the foreign language. So that would be the biggest tip I could give anyone, friend or not. Practice the language while you're in class.
To really utilize the book. So I was really overwhelmed with taking a language class because I didn't take Spanish in high school. So to look at the book, and again, I'm so visual and hands-on that it was just really nice to be able to look at the activities and to just understand and be able to like go back and look at the notes. And then to also to have the sheets that you gave us for extra practices. I really liked that. They were really helpful for me because then I kind of knew like how things would be presented. Even if it wasn't in the same context, I could rewrite the questions a little bit more to accommodate any kind of answers that would come my way.
When we took quizzes in class, Profa would let me come in early and take quizzes just quietly without any of my classmates around, because I found when I first started, I tensed up and I got scared. And I was scared that I was gonna drop every single quiz. But then Profa and I came up with a solution that I could go into her office or come into class early to take the quizzes, and I succeeded greatly in that. And then when tests came around, she would always do listening portions with the class, and then always take the time out of her schedule to do one-on-one listening with me to really help me succeed and push me along in that way. First off, take notes. Even though I personally can't take notes as well as other kids, taking notes is really important. And really paying attention to what Prof is saying, because I know sometimes you can get scattered brain or something like that, but really listen to her and take into consent what she's saying, as well as just really try your best. Like, don't do things half-witted, do things full-heartedly. Just keep pressing on and keep doing your best.
Take good notes, review their notes every day, make sure that their notes are thorough, and to definitely do the key assignments, because with all the tries, you can repeat the tries and practice them over and over again until you get it down. Being in class every day definitely helps, because if you miss a class, then you sometimes fall behind on the grammar lessons. The vocab is easier to catch up on, but with the grammar, how it keeps continuing on, it gets harder to catch up if you miss something. Outside of class, I would walk around the house basically reciting what I learned in class, so that way I would know what I had to learn for the test. And somebody I work with also speaks Spanish, so I used him as a reference, and he would speak to me every day and help me learn what I needed to learn.
I would say definitely do the homework. Quia is important, and asking questions. If you don't do the homework, I feel like you're not going to do well in the class. And yeah, asking questions is a big key, because I feel like kids nowadays, especially like my younger sister, she's a prime example. If you don't ask questions, you're not going to get anywhere. So, and especially it's like a foreign language, so it's harder to, you know, learn if you don't like ask questions and do the homework and participate too.
The thing that helped me the most in
Spanish 151 was to really talk in class and ask questions and participate. Going to Sage Tutors really helped me just to understand what was being taught in the class, because sometimes it can get confusing, but with being in class, it really helps, and then going to the tutors helped me understand what the material was saying.
Definitely go to a tutor, see the tutors, because I didn't do that, and I regret not doing that. I would homework, study for the quizzes, study. Definitely read the Vistazo Cultural.
I would say definitely get a study group going outside of class. That's what I did. It helps to build relationships within the class with the other classmates, and it helps you study outside. It's hard to backtrack when you're still trying to learn something in the next class. You have to be there really.
To be successful, I would definitely participate a lot in class and study very hard, like the vocab and the grammar for the whole entire lesson.
Study, I would just look over the vocab, and then I would look back in my notes. I would write down, even though we took notes in class, I'd rewrite it, because once you write it down more than once, you remember it so much better than just writing it once and looking at it. I took Spanish in high school, so I was introduced to conjuguemos.com then, so I think that website's perfect. It's very helpful. And then I tried studyspanish.com. I liked that.
What really helped me was the Spanish groups that people set up before class or after class that I would go to sometimes, and just get to talk with other students in the class that may be struggling with the same things I'm struggling with, or just to study. And studying the material right after you learn it really helped cement it in my brain. And the optional handouts, which are not supposed to be optional because they really help on the test.
With a foreign language, I think studying with a buddy is important, because then you can both kind of bounce ideas and ask questions back and forth. And just talking, I'll talk in Spanish to my parents or friends. They might not know what I'm saying, but it's kind of a good practice just to kind of get familiar with the vocab and the grammatical stuff. So, and then not doing anything is kind of a downfall.
I did a lot of studying, of course, and I did conjuguemos.com to help me with my conjugations, and I just did a lot of the activities and packets you gave us to work on.
Quia helped me in that it matched up with things that the teacher was teaching in class, and also what we were learning in class. And it was just the listening, even though it was fast, it did help me to understand partially what he or she was saying, and just the writing sections of it helped on to do a good sentence in Spanish.
I think Quia definitely benefits students, especially me. It really helps with vocab and getting the spelling down, knowing how to use different words, and I would say Quia is beneficial.
The Quia helps, yes, and I struggled with a lot of the acciones, but you're so lenient and you help us, so if we have questions, we're able to ask you, and then we can go back and do it that same night. So that was helpful. Yeah, Quia was definitely helpful. I loved it.
Quia really benefited you because it was sometimes very similar to the tests. And just really listen to what they're saying. Really try your best on Quia. Don't just, like I said before, don't do it half-heartedly. Do it full-heartedly.
I always did Quia the night that I had just learned the material. I needed to practice it. So Quia is a wonderful tool to use to make sure that you have down the spelling, the vocabulary, the grammar, and it's just a nice practice tool.
I think it helped me keep track of what we were learning. The activities were definitely useful for studying, but even just the fact that they were mandatory, I guess, we had to do them, they were assigned, it helped me keep on track with what I had to get done.
Most important thing they could do would be show up to class, being in the classroom, you know, it really immerses you in the language, I guess, because the teachers talk Spanish, the students speak Spanish, therefore you sort of you're forced to learn Spanish that way, and that's really how you learn the language.
Because when you're in class, you get a lot more information than you would not being in class, and it just helps because you get to converse more in Spanish, and just you're all together with people who speak Spanish with you.
Be on time, definitely to be on time, and to be present, because there's so many classes where you can just take and think, oh, I can just do some of the homework or anything, but really to just be present in the class and the participation, and you'll do just fine.
Because if you're not in class, you're not learning, and if you're not learning, then what's the point of taking the class? So showing up is showing that you're there to learn and you want to learn, especially a new language. So attendance is important no matter what class it is.
I found like if you miss a class in college, it really kills you because you miss so much information in that one class period. So it's really important to be here every single day if you can. But also, like, I do recommend, like, don't just leave class after a quiz, because that's silly and it's stupid, and you're risking a grade, a letter grade. So I really advise you guys not to walk out on class.
I saw a tutor once to get test corrections on a test I didn't do so well on, and that really helped because I could understand what I did wrong and how to not make sure that doesn't happen in the next test.
I saw Jameson, was that his name? Yeah, that was really nice. It was good because there was 2 different days, and I work a lot, so sometimes like I would request off work to kind of go in there more, but he was really helpful, so I liked that.
Anytime that I ever studied last minute or put anything off, that definitely did not work. I think it's helpful even if you just study 15 minutes a day. I think that's even helpful.
A kid that has a very high case of dyslexia, and I was diagnosed at a young age. But when I came to MCC, I was very concerned because what if it's not to my liking per se, or it's not at my level that I'm used to. That's why I took advantage of the access of disability services here at MCC. And they gave me accommodations where I can take tests outside of class in the testing center, and it was exactly what I needed to succeed. And I never thought I would succeed as much as I did.
Something that you should do is memorize the vocab. The easiest way to do that is just write it down and continue writing it down before your test, obviously.
I would say that the largest difference between 151 and 152 is that you're no longer using just the present tense. You're working more in past tense and 2 past tenses, preterite and imperfect. And I needed to practice more in order to make sure that not only could I still speak in present tense, but also be able to speak in preterite and imperfect. All of your verb conjugations, you need to have those down pat, as they say, so that you could better be able to learn the new conjugations.
I think 152 goes a little bit faster. So if you do miss something in 152, you really have to pay attention to catch back up. But I think that as far as difficulty, if you took 151 and you paid attention, it made 152 very easy.
151 was basically kind of like the basics. I took it in high school, so it kind of was just kind of like a refresher. But just kind of getting familiar with kind of the flow of how Spanish and foreign language works. And then transitioning to 152 is more of like the grammatical concept, and it's more complex. So if you kind of have that 151 basics, then you can kind of apply it more like fluently in 152. So then the grammar was just more intense, but it was still fun learning.
The transition was at first not like that big of a deal, but then when we got farther in the semester, it was going faster. So I wouldn't say it was hard to like keep up, but it was a different pace than Spanish 151. But you eventually get used to that. And the things that we learned in Spanish 151 really helped, like the verbs and of course the vocabulary helped a lot in Spanish 152, because if you just completely forget that, you're going to be lost in Spanish 152.
Yes, 151 was a good foundation for 152. Without it, yeah, I wouldn't be able to just know this stuff on the first day. I would be totally lost without 151, and it helped through the whole semester because you still use the same vocab and whatnot. With addition to learning new vocab, you're always going to need to know more and more.
The foundation, pretty much just studying in the first class, making sure that I was on track with everything we were learning, pretty much not skipping class. That definitely set a foundation. Having a good grade in that class was helpful for this one.
Taking 152, Profa talks a lot faster. So, and she knows that you've taken Spanish 151. So now you gotta really listen to what she's saying and not be like, okay, I'm not gonna listen to her now. Really listen to Profa and her advice. She's here to not hurt you, but to benefit you. So just really listen closely, but it is a challenge. So be up for a good challenge.